we are celebrating the 79th anniversary of the Roswell UFO incident. This is a special, comprehensive broadcast. So we're starting, and I hope you enjoy this. Hello, and welcome to the UFO Files. I'm your host, Hollywood D, and this is exciting for so many reasons. Tonight, our entire focus shifts as the Pentagon executes an extraordinary gesture in transparency. We'll get this on the monitor later, but this is the third drop, the third batch from the DoD, the Pentagon, the Department of War, Department of Defense. The Department of War has officially launched the Pursuit Task Force database, unsealing a massive batch of declassified UFO and UAP records. On orders from the White House, Defense Secretary Pete Hegseth confirmed releases are now dropping on a rolling basis. The unprecedented disclosure spans 40 high-level files featuring declassified videos, audio codes, and sensitive documents from the FBI, CIA, and NASA. Included in the tranche is chilling evidence from a military aviator describing a mysterious object unlike anything seen in 28 years of service. Experts argue that while the initial batch of materials remains unexplained, the broad disclosures land in a historic window. This explosive timeline adds fresh intensity to a century-old mystery, reigniting cold cases on a major anniversary. Tonight, we mark the 79th anniversary of the Roswell UFO incident. This episode is dedicated to civilians, the military, researchers, and everyone who finds UFOs, UAPs, and paranormal phenomena compelling. It all began 79 years ago on July 2nd, 1947, in Roswell, New Mexico. Witnesses reported strange lights swarming the sky in the weeks leading up to the alleged crash. As the nation reflects on both the recent declassifications and the Roswell milestone, the research community is mourning the loss of two dominant voices. Former British Ministry of Defense UFO investigator Nick Pope passed away at age 60 on April 6th. Before his death, Pope heavily advocated for modern forensic science at the crash site, forever labeling Roswell as ground zero of the phenomenon. Just 2 weeks later, on April 20th, paranormal author and UFO researcher David Wilcock tragically passed away by suicide at age 53 in Colorado. Wilcock constantly merged the 1947 Roswell incident into his broader theories on extraterrestrial disclosure. And that history leads us to a real-time national security drama gaining intel momentum. An unverified missing scientists conspiracy theory alleges that the FBI is auditing the recent disappearances of 10 to 12 defense researchers. Though federal investigations find no proof of a coordinated plot, one active disappearance has captured congressional interest. Retired U.S. Air Force Major General William Neal McCasland remains missing. He previously commanded the Air Force Research Laboratory at Wright-Patterson in Ohio and the Phillips Research Site at Kirtland in New Mexico. Due to his highly classified clout in space weapons programs, podcasters and documentarians note that members of Congress were legitimately seeking to question him regarding secret UFO records. The 68-year-old disappeared on foot from his Albuquerque home on February 27th. Massive foothill searches couched in drones, helicopters, and horseback teams have produced no evidence of foul play. Investigators extensively evaluated camera footage requested from over 600 area residences. The general remains missing as of tonight, and the probe deepens as federal agencies are blocking the release of critical files. Journalists investigating the general's disappearance recently filed FOIA, Freedom of Information Act requests. The FBI officially denied the requests, promptly shutting down access by revealing that the clearance involves protected records concerning one or more missing third-party individuals. The federal silence adds fuel to a concurrent vanishing, stirring the research community. Monica Reza, an aerospace engineer and former colleague of McCasland, mysteriously vanished while hiking in a Los Angeles forest. Witnesses report Reza was walking just 30 feet behind a companion, smiling and waving. When the companion turned around, Reza had seemingly evaporated into thin air. While investigators probed national security vulnerabilities, the general's wife, Susan Wilkerson, clarified that her husband did not have dementia and he was not confused or disoriented. She noted he retired nearly 13 years ago, making it highly unlikely he was abducted to extract outdated military secrets. In a social media statement, she deflected radical conspiracies with humor, suggesting perhaps the best hypothesis is that aliens beamed him up. We turn back now to the Pentagon paper trail, where a separate release was issued beyond the main task force drops. Back on June 12th, the Pentagon released a highly anticipated file concerning historic airspace encounters. But despite months of online buildup, the document yielded little substance. Analysts conclude there is not much to report, as the batch largely rehashed known tracking flight data without producing disclosure bombshells. But while Washington remains vaunted, the energy on the ground is electric. Enthusiasts are gathering worldwide for the peak of UFO festival season. From the legendary Roswell UFO Festival in New Mexico to local expo gatherings, thousands of fans, investigators, and families are celebrating paranormal culture. While Roswell commands the modern headlines, the phenomenon actually erupted 2 weeks earlier in the summer of 1947. It all started on June 24th with a 32-year-old pilot and businessman named Kenneth Arnold. Arnold was flying his single-engine plane near Washington State's Mount Rainier. Suddenly, he spotted a chain of 9 shiny, crescent-shaped objects flying in a tight V formation. He estimated their speed at more than 1,200 miles per hour, twice the speed of any known aircraft at the time. When Arnold landed, he described their motion like a saucer skipping across water. Newspaper reporters pounced on the phrase, mistakenly assuming the craft were shaped like plates, and the term flying saucer was born. The nationwide wire services spread the story, sparking an absolute UFO frenzy with over 800 similar sightings flooding police stations. That flying disc mania laid the perfect groundwork for the legendary timeline in New Mexico. On the night of July 2nd, 1947, residents in and around the town of Roswell, like Mary and Dan Wilmot and James and William Woody, reported a glowing disc-like object leaving a fiery trail across the sky. Witnesses on the ground reported hearing loud thunderclaps and a distinct, strange explosion during a severe thunderstorm. Critically, no one actually witnessed the object plummeting or crashing. The scattered wreckage was only discovered after the fact on July 3rd, when ranch foreman William Wade Mac Brazel Jr. was out checking the pastures of the J.B. Foster Ranch, located 80 miles northwest of Roswell. He was riding horseback with a neighbor's son, Dee Proctor, when they stumbled upon a desolate trail of shredded debris spanning acres of grass. Locals noted a bizarre detail. The ranch sheep obstinately refused to approach or cross into the fields where the mysterious material was strewn. Brazel did not find an intact craft, only unusual, unidentifiable metallic foil, balsa wood sticks, rubber scraps, and a heavy, glossy, paper-like substance. Brazel brought samples of the wreckage to show neighboring children, including the Proctor family, who suggested the metallic material matched the nationwide saucer headlines. On July 5th, Brazel notified Chaves County Sheriff George Wilcox, who promptly contacted the Roswell Army Airfield, RAAF. By July 8th, RAAF intelligence officer Major Jesse Marcel, along with Colonel Sheridan Cavett and Sergeant William Rickett, arrived at the remote site to collect the debris. Base Commander Colonel William Blanchard ordered Public Information Officer Lieutenant Walter Haught to release a statement to the press. Blanchard instructed Haught to work directly with Marcel to craft the announcement. The resulting statement declared that the 509th Bomber Group's intelligence office had obtained a flying disc from a local rancher with the assistance of the local sheriff. That single press release sparked international headlines declaring RAAF captures flying saucer. And we will also get this on the monitor later. But less than 24 hours later, the initial announcement was dramatically reversed by higher military headquarters. On July 8th, Brigadier General Roger Ramey held a press conference at the 8th Air Force headquarters in Fort Worth, Texas. Ramey announced that Major Jesse Marcel and his team had mistakenly identified a standard weather balloon as a flying disc. Military officials displayed pieces of the recovered material for reporters in Ramey's office. Again, we will get these on the cast later. The recovered debris was publicly identified as a Raysond weather balloon coupling and a meteorological radar target. The radar target was made of aluminum foil, tinsel, rubber, and balsa wood sticks. The newspapers promptly updated the story with headlines dismissing the discovery as an ordinary weather balloon. Because of this quick military reversal, the Roswell story disappeared from the public eye for 3 decades. The dismissal sparked 3 distinct explanations that dominate the historic Roswell timeline to this day. The first explanation is an extraterrestrial spacecraft, reckoning with the initial press release. Believers argue alien technology and bodies were recovered, initiating a decades-long government cover-up. The second is Project Mogul, a top-secret espionage program operated by the nearby Alamogordo Army Airfield. The facility launched high-altitude balloon trains designed to spy on the Soviet Union and detect atmospheric nuclear tests. The third is a standard weather balloon used by the military as an immediate cover story to protect the classified atomic espionage mission. But beyond the official rundown, the specific characteristics of the physical debris fueled the conspiracy. Ranch foreman Mac Brazel and intelligence officer Major Jesse Marcel Sr. described a recovered metal seemingly endowed with memory. The wreckage was as thin as cigarette paper, yet completely indestructible. It could not be cut, burned, or dented, even with a sledgehammer, and crumpled pieces instantly sprang back into their original shape. Furthermore, Witnesses reported small eye beams scattered across the sheep pasture. These beams featured embossed, hieroglyphic like symbols described as bright pink, purple, or lavender in color. Critically, historical accounts confirm that Brazel and his neighbor D. Proctor only handled disconnected pieces of scrap metal, wood, and rubber. Brazel never saw an intact craft. He brought samples to his house, showing his family, including his son Vernon, only the unidentified lightweight materials. He did not see any alien bodies, and he did not show alien bodies to his family, for the record. While the initial 1947 reports mentioned no biological material, later accounts dramatically expanded the phenomenon. Decades later, whistleblowers popularized claims that the military recovered 4 extraterrestrial beings. The accounts alleged the humanoid bodies were 4 to 5 feet tall, with large heads and big eyes, retroactively described in pop culture as grays. However, the U.S. Air Force stated in a 1994 interpretation that tales of alien bodies likely resulted from civilian witnesses consolidating memories of military accidents and high-altitude test dummies. We turn now to the key witnesses and controversial figures who experienced the event firsthand. Major Jesse Marcel Sr. and his son, Dr. Jesse Marcel Jr., are foundational figures in UFO lore. Marcel Sr. was the first military official to investigate the site, examining material he claimed was not of this earth, before being ordered to pose with weather balloon scraps. His son, Dr. Jesse Marcel Jr., was only 10 years old when his father awoke him in the middle of the night to show him the bizarre hieroglyphic-covered metallic wreckage. He spent the latter half of his life sharing his first-hand account globally, co-authoring the book, The Roswell Legacy. During the original probe, Army Counterintelligence Corps Captain Sheridan Cavett was assigned to inspect the wreckage with Marcel. Cavett treated the event as a standard military investigation, rapidly assessing the debris as earthly, lightweight materials like tinfoil, paper, and balsa wood. Cavett's mission rooted in the 4 pillars of counterintelligence: catching spies, stopping tech theft, spreading false intel, and inspecting internal leaks, which aligned with proving the hardware belonged to Project Mogul. As one of the few verified witnesses alive decades later, his 1994 interview is preserved in the National Archives. The confusion was intensified by the conflicting actions of 3 distinct military bases. First, the Roswell Army Airfield collected the pasture debris and mistakenly released the flying disc announcement. Second, the Alamogordo Army Airfield, which supported the Trinity atomic test and later evolved into Holloman Air Force Base, operated the top-secret expedition component. Third, the Fort Worth Army and Airfield served as regional headquarters, dispatching the routing of the materials to Wright-Patterson Air Force Base in Dayton, Ohio, for specialized testing. But in an unexpected twist, the secrets hidden for decades exploded back into the light through a sworn expedition. The Roswell incident was largely forgotten until Stanton Friedman revived it in 1978. But the most confrontational evidence emerged after the 2005 passing of PIO Lieutenant Walter Haut. Haut left behind a signed, notarized, sworn affidavit admitting that the military intentionally covered up the event, asserting the weather balloon story was an orchestrated cover and the real wreckage was swapped in Fort Worth. In the document, signed in 2002, Hott claimed he personally saw a metallic reflective egg shaped craft about 15 to 20 feet in diameter inside a base hangar. He swore he became aware of two separate crash sites, a debris field and an impact skip site, proving the two craft malfunction theory. Hott also documented occupants claiming to have personally seen at least two small individuals, approximately 4 feet tall, with disproportionately large heads, partially covered with a tarp on the hangar floor. Hott signed the sealed affidavit at the International UFO Museum in 2002, 3 years before his death, in the presence of his daughter, Julie Shuster, as well as notary Beverly Morgan and a museum guest. The record was publicly released in 2007. In 1991, Hott, along with his co founders Glenn Dennis and local broker Max Littell, co founded the International UFO Museum and Research Center in Roswell for the purpose of educating the public. Hott's shocking occupant claims intersect with the testimony of mortician Glenn Dennis. Dennis claimed a base hospital nurse named Naomi Maria Self confided in him, tearfully describing assisting with the autopsies of small, non-human occupants before she vanished on a transfer. However, Air Force investigations concluded the nurse was a fictional conflation, noting no record of any worker by that name was stationed at Roswell. We turn now to the final verdict and the cultural legacy that continues to grip the global imagination. To confront the persistent theories, the U.S. Air Force issued two definitive reports in 1994 and 1997. The 1,000-page final record, Case Closed, concluded that no extraterrestrial vehicles or alien crews were ever recorded or recovered. The government officially clarified that the recovered debris came from the high-altitude espionage balloons of Project Mogul, designed to detect Soviet nuclear tests. Despite the Air Force artifacts, prominent alternative perspectives persist. The foreign spy aircraft theory suggests the event was a covert crash of an adversary's device, requiring immediate military containment. Concurrently, the alien craft theory maintains exotic materials and biological entities were secured, igniting a 79-year secrecy campaign. Regardless of the truth, the 1947 event cemented Roswell as the birthplace of modern ufology. The retraction transformed the term flying saucer into a global phenomenon, forever shaping pop culture, government transparency debates, and suspected cover-ups. Today, the mystery drives ecotourism, bringing thousands of visitors annually to the International UFO Museum to explore the timeline. Whether a top-secret Cold War espionage tool or a vehicle from beyond our world, the sparks fired in the desert remain unresolved. Thank you for walking through the paper trail with us. I'm Hollywood D with the Hollywood Files, the Hollywood UFO Files. This is our 79th anniversary special for the UFO Files. And stay with us. Please like us, follow us, and we will have so many new broadcast podcasts coming up soon on fabulous stories as an educational feature. So thank you, and we'll see you next time. Mwah, on the UFO Files. Bye for now.